Welcome to Elected, a podcast for women in and around Canadian politics and our active accomplices. Today is a very different kind of podcast. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but this one really is. Joining me today from Toronto is Sasha Ariev, the sister of Karina. She's 19 years old. She's been gone for 9 months, 277 days. Um, Tell me about your sister and everything you are doing to bring her home.
Okay, so Karina is my little sister. We have a 5 years gap between us. And I always say that when I was five, my parents gifted to me Karina as a present for life, her to be my little sister. And like we will spend our life together side by side, me and her. So I won't grow alone and I will have her as my support and she will have me as an older sister who can help her and teach her how the world works of my experience. And I remember her since the day she was born, as I came to the hospital and saw her crying, and I just fell in love with her. I remember all of our stuff, since we were kids, all our laughter together and our playing together. And like I can't imagine myself without her. We shared the room till I was 19 years old, so we actually just we're just like the same person because we shared it all, a bed, a closet, our working table and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she's 19 right now, but for me she was always 5 years old. Yeah, that I need to care of about. And she's so innocent and pure. She's so a child, a young sweet girl. She likes to she likes to do some DIY projects like to draw and to paint, and those projects decorate her room. She decorates her room with stickers and fluffy stuffed animal dolls, and she brings them to me, every birthday. And now I have four of them sitting on my bed, and every day I pet them and hug them and just say like a little bit more, and Karina will come and she will pet them. She will pet you with me, and I will hug her. I remember us talking, deep conversations in the night, eventually falling asleep, holding hands together.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember the day, that October 7th, the dreadful day, that she called me first because that's how we are. We are talking before we are getting our parents worried, and she said that she's scared, and I could do nothing to save her. I couldn't do my job as a big sister. And she literally asked me, like her last words to me on WhatsApp were that if I won't make it alive, please take care of our parents. Please don't sink in sorrow and continue your lives. And this only shows how valuable and moral she is, being only 19 years old. I don't think any 19 years old girl need to say or think about that words or be in such a situation when she thinks she's going to die, and she's just saying her goodbyes and saying my father not to come to the area where she was at the south parts of Israel to get revenge about her. Like, I don't think any girl should think or say that, or to see her girlfriends being murdered and lying there in pools of blood when she's sitting tied, also wounded, and dozens of terrorists are around her, laughing, screaming, shooting, and taking her away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is all I can think about.
And you said that she texted you during the attack while she was in a bomb shelter. With other young women who were taken hostage by Hamas. And For anyone who's interested, I mean, I want everyone listening to this to be interested. For me, this is not which side of the anything that you're on. It's um, that we shouldn't want this for anyone. Um, and there's video of Karina in the back of a truck or a Jeep, tied up. They also released video of her along with three of the other young women still in Hamas captivity. And for anyone, it's easy not because unfortunately there's been so many images. But for anyone who's wondering, it's the video I think that became at least infamous in Canada over there was a debate around what Hamas was actually saying to the girls. And like, although relevant in the accuracy of the language being used, the debate around the nuances of a translation doesn't takes away from the conversation that these young women are still in captivity. They're still being held hostage and they have not been released. And it has been 277 days, and we should all find that absolutely unacceptable. What you're in Canada right now, advocating for their release. What kind of conversations have you had and what kind of reception have you gotten in Canada?
Okay, so actually, Canada is my fourth delegation that I do across the world. And I got a lot of support, from Canadian Jewish community and even non-Jewish community. But a lot of people that I have met, they say that their hands are tied. And I just ask so the people, to address letters, to write letters to the government to say that the people of Canada, it doesn't matter what religion, yes, or ethnicity, they're for the basic human right of people freedom. Yeah, and there are innocent people, hostages, yeah, like young girls who are still held hostage for 9 months, didn't hear their mother, didn't get a hug. And 9 months is a date mark that should be a happy date mark to celebrate a life coming to this world. And we do not celebrate nothing at this date mark. We didn't think we will reach this date mark. And all I can think about is that my sister didn't hear our mother or get a hug from her. And now she could be a mother herself. Yes, so like what should we do about it? And I think that in many meetings here in Canada, people just don't understand it. They just want to shut the curtains and say that we don't know, we don't hear, we don't see it. It is going to be easier for us just to ignore it because it's not happening here. But I'm here to deliver that it is happening here, and if it is happening to us, it can happen everywhere in the world. And as in the Holocaust, my father is a Holocaust survivor, my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. People should not be silent. Okay, the history is repeating itself, and I don't see any difference. So I'm here to tell the people that you need to come out of your comfort zone and to fight, even if that's for other people that you don't personally know.
Well, I think that if anyone even dared tell you and use the words that their hands are tied lacks such a deep uh, under has such a lack of awareness because literally your sister's hands are tied in this scenario.
Yeah.
They anyone telling you that their hands are tied by a willingness not to have to take a position on something, right? Like there
Yeah,
are still 200 hostages whose hands are tied in handcuffs or rope or zap straps or something else. It's only their willingness not to take what they think is possibly a politically difficult position. But honestly, to your point, like, saying never again is now for you and your family. and the families of hostages that have been released and are still currently in captivity. And the world is at a place where if you aren't willing to say something, then you have to think about if you had lived back during the Second World War, what side would you have been on?
Yeah.
That's like how easy it is for me to reconcile this because what I see and the conversations that I've even had with people are, you know, uh, like it honestly is being just it's a conversation about so many things, but also about anti-Semitism. Because if this was anyone else, if this was any other country, if this was any other group of people, we would never allow this to be happening.
Yeah. It's
And so
totally our feelings.
the world is telling you, as it did at many other points in history, that because of your identity, that in my opinion is that you know they're not willing to stand up because you're Jewish or Israeli, right? And like this has gone so far beyond politics. um like if you can't be moved by the fact that this could be anyone, your sister, your daughter, your family member, then like where's your moral compass?
Yeah.
And your
It's
sister
so hard,
had a moral, yeah, your sister has this at 19 years old by texting you and saying like the words that no one should ever have to say, which is like, take care of our parents. um I also saw, for anyone who's interested, your sister, you've created a social media account to keep awareness about your sister. What is, if anyone wants to follow it, what is the name of it?
It's a Bring Karina Home on
Uh,
Instagram, and I really want people to follow us, to raise awareness because we don't have much followers, and I just feeling that our voice is fading away.
yeah. There's a post from your mom with a caption that says, "A mother never gives up."
Yeah. Our mother
She,
will never give up.
nor should she. Um, as a mom myself of two relatively young children, um, not being in her situation, but, it's like my heart is outside of my body in the beings of my children. So like I can't even imagine what it would be like for your mom and your dad and your family to be going through this. How do you like how have you gotten is there any do you get any updates? Like, have you received word about her status, her condition? Like, what are you, what are your, like, I'm sorry for asking this, but what are your fears for Karina right now?
I know that my sister is alive, and I expect the world and Hamas to bring her back to me, alive as she is now. I don't know in what situation she is. Is she is she alone? Is she eating? How she's being treated? And one of the big fears of her being a young, pretty girl, you know, the fear is sexual assault, sexual abusement, pregnancy. I'm sure that even men being assaulted, yes, but women have that that point that they can get pregnant. Yeah, so every woman that she's pregnant right now, she goes to doctors and she has her mother or family or friends or relatives being with her together, and it's so different that it should be. And I don't think that the people that will come back from there will be ever able to be the same again. And time
Hmm.
is running out for them, so we need to be quick about it. And we're at crucial moments with the deal that we've been talking about now, and we need the world's help. So the USS, the US is helping, and the coordinators are helping. But I want Canada as well, as a big state with a Jewish community in it and many supporters to step out and to do whatever you can as a state. Like, first, condemn Hamas actions. Second, tell your government to put pressure. I know that you can't push directly Hamas. Yeah, I understand it. We cannot do that also. But you have diplomatical connections with Egypt and Qatar and other countries that can put pressure on Hamas. So that's one of the things you can do. You can help Israel. You can post about it. You can resonate the stories and the voices as we're doing now. Yes, so people won't forget and keep talking about it, talking about the facts for the people who doesn't know about what's happening. That's what I expect from Canada, and I want to see it happening. I don't want people to say, yeah, you're right, but doing nothing because
Mhm.
they're afraid or something. We need strong people to get out and don't be afraid about it because that's the right and moral thing to do, to get innocent people out of captivity. It's nothing diplomatical or military or I don't know any other agendas that are involved in here. We need only to think that 120 hostages are now currently in a danger of life and they must get out. And every other thing can be, we can resolve it later, but when they are home.
Yeah. Yeah, for anyone, who centers the politics and all of this, I think, it's just considering the like if anyone was in, your shoes, Sasha, I think they would want the same thing. They would want their family back, and they would. Well, yeah, some people will play the politics of it. For you, it's simply about getting Karina back.
Yeah. People should think what would they do
Yeah.
if it would be their child or relative and if it would be their country that was invaded so brutally. Okay, and don't judge Israel. Just think about it personally. Sit alone for some time and think what would I have done and what I'm about to do when we reach 9 months. Uh, Like people won't in other countries, they won't be silent about it if it happens to them. So why are people silent when it's happening to Israel? And
Well,
not only Israel and Jewish, there are 24 people from different nationalities there and more than 5 religions of people that are there. So it's not only Israel or Jewish problem. It's a world problem. It's a world humanitarian crisis.
I agree. Um, it's uh, it's just unimaginable. I mean, and we saw. I mean, the rest of the world woke up on October 7th to the horror that you were living firsthand in that very moment. But something that I have a hard time with thinking about is that, as you're sitting in a hotel room in Toronto, I'm sitting in my basement hiding, my children are upstairs playing with Lego. But at this very moment that you and I are having this conversation, your sister is in captivity.
Yeah. In tunnels, maybe without light, without food, without any option to do whatever she wants without going to the toilet, whatever she wants, or wearing or taking a shower or getting a
Making
medical help,
noise. Yeah, medical
making
attention.
noise, anything, like everything that people can think about that they're doing on a daily basis without even thinking. The hostages cannot do it for 9 months. I'm not speaking like it is only 1 month past. It's 9 months.
Well, yeah, it's it's life and death for her, and for everyone still in captivity. Your sister's only 19 years old. One of the youngest, still taken by Hamas. Um, how do you, for anyone listening to this who, is maybe hesitant about speaking up, or even what they feel is like taking a position, um, which is such a privileged place to be in. Um, how do you like if explaining that, if the argument of or the message of like if it was your sister or if it was your mother or your father, like, and what would you do? If that doesn't move someone to feel to speak out and talk about the hostages and about Karina, like what else is there? If you are just willing, like how do you like where does your mind go in terms of trying to get someone to like move themselves on this issue?
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing for 9 months already, trying to get people to understand and realize that we're not even talking about taking the Israeli side or any other side, it's taking the hostages side, yeah, taking the human side of them, the God side, the heart. We know the facts. We know that people were brutally murdered and kidnapped and are in a life danger currently.
Mhm.
So that's the side people should understand, the moral side, the right side of history. Not even talking about, as I said, the political side of Israel or any other country or whatever. And
Mhm.
it's really hard to convince people for 9 months. It was easier at first, but our voices are fading away and people are forgetting, and people are saying that even this didn't happen, and it's really hard to fight. you know I'm already fighting the struggle to release my sister, and now I'm also fighting the struggle to no no to keep people um, realizing that it did happen and that they have to act. And one of many things that I do is a lot of interviews, a lot of explanation, a lot of meetings with government and federal workers. And I ask, the citizens, maybe the simple people, if they have any connections, to an effective people with power, or they're themselves, how some involved in a powerful position, or even just to write to the government and say, hi, my name is that and that, and I want our government to stand with the hostages and to call for their immediate release, because that's our Canadian moral, that
Mhm.
that's what we are raised about, and we shouldn't forget about it. It doesn't matter who. There is a country and people that are they need help now, and that's what I expect my government to do, to show that we're united for the right side. That one of the things. Continue posting about in social media, continue asking questions. If you don't know, hesitate, just connect a family of a hostage, and we will gladly make you know the facts, and explain the true side and not all the fakes that are going around. So it's that easy, just to listen to your moral side, and it will feel good that if someone does something, it will move. It will move, not maybe directly, but it will spin. It's a will of doing good, and the good will happen eventually. But we want it to happen as soon as possible.
Well, and I think, what I see is, you know, you reaching out to like basically on tour, trying to convince people in the Canadian government and other governments and people to believe like that this is actually this has happened. Because you're right, as soon as October 7th happened in Canada, people started to question like, did it actually even happen? Were women sexually assaulted? Did these things that, people witnessed or observed after and during, did they really happen? I mean, I think that comes from a place of not wanting to admit that um that these things do and did happen, and to challenge yourself to consider like, why am I thinking this? Is it because I just don't think this happened, Or is it because, like, is it with a lens of, like, am I possibly coming at this from, a position of what is actually anti-Semitism? Um, so, and I think people are afraid to ask these things and to even share posts on social media nowadays because they can be faced with such a backlash. But honestly, it doesn't compare to what you're dealing with as Karina is still in Hamas captivity. Like, it just, there's no comparison. So, um, so I am going to do a better job of advocating for your sister and for all of the hostages. And I hope that anyone listening to this podcast, hasn't, hasn't turned it off and has listened to you and, um, is just ask themselves, like, if what would you do to get your sister back? What would you do to get your mother back? Like, I know what I would do. I would do what you're doing.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I'm thanking you, Sarah. And I'm thanking the listeners who stayed up here. And I really, really want to give you hope and strength. Also, that you can give it to us so we can keep fighting. And I really, really pray that this fight won't take longer.
I want Karina home for you and your mom. I want, we've seen the videos of other hostages being reunited for their families, and um I want that for you so badly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing all that I can. I'm doing all that I can, and I'm asking people to help me to do whatever they can. So we together will bring them home, and Karina would have her freedom back and her family back, and I will have the present of life my parents gave me when I was 5 again. Because currently my present is stolen. My heart is stolen in Gaza.
Yeah. Well, I maybe I should have started with this, but I've had a conversation with someone else related to October 7th, and I'm going to tell you what I told her. Her name was Orit Soliziano, and she's the head of Israel's Rape and Relief Crisis Centers. And I told her that although it was a pleasure meeting her, I wish that our paths had never crossed. I wish that she was a stranger to me. And I am going to say the same thing to you. I wish that you were a stranger to me. I wish in some ways that I didn't know Karina's name. And I wish that because October 7th I wish that had never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I don't think that saying thank you is enough because I wish you weren't in this place of having to tour the world to bring the humanity of your sister, Karina, and all of the other hostages to light, to advocate for them. I just, I don't wish that for you. I don't wish that for anybody, but this is the position that you're in and the position that the world is in. So thank you is supremely insufficient. But I'm going to be thinking about you and Karina up until and after the day she comes home.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.